you have to have like a big man but yeah.
Okay, so before we go any further with this activity, let's just take a look at a few announcements. First of all, the reading quiz for Chapter 3 closed today at 11 a.m. And so the next one's available now. Chapter 4, that'll be available to you until next Thursday at 11 o'clock, which is the schedule that we follow. All right, oops, there we go. So read Chapter 4 before class next time. And at the end of class today, I'm going to be giving you an assignment called The Keys to Success, and that'll be due in class next Thursday. So you'll have 2 things to think about between now and a week from now. So far, you have individually gone through the in-class exercise and listed some of your achievements and the way that you got there, and then talked about it with the partner. So I'm curious to know what you came up with. What are the categories of things that people have been identifying as their achievements, and what are the methods that they use to get there? So, Clement, what was yours? The achievement that you're proud of?
My achievement was be able to get financial aid.
Okay.
And it was kind of really hard for me.
Yeah.
I got paid $5,000 for a semester. I remember when I first came here, I took a class after you, and then I dropped it because my financial aid wouldn't go through. Yeah.
Oh, so, really?
Yeah, 2010. So I had to sacrifice.
Yeah.
I had to get some legal papers processed, and I had to pay like $5,000 to get my papers so that I can file for financial aid.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like a long process. Cassandra, how about you? What's the achievement that you listed on the first part?
I won second place in the video contest in the Latin convention.
That sounds cool. So financial aid, like an academic contest it was?
Yeah.
Academic achievements. Did anybody put like a sporting related achievement? Okay, what was yours?
I want to be an all-state golfer.
Alright, sporting. And what does that consist of, being an all-state golfer?
Well, you have to be like, you have to finish in the top 5 in the state tournament. And you're up there.
Cool. How about in the back?
I got hired for a summer job at Charleston.
Alright, summer job.
My grandpa gave me a 1953 Model 40 John Deere tractor, and I did a full restoration of it. So
Sounds like a lot of work. Had it been restored since then, or was it just from scratch? Really?
I got messed over all first place in the state fair.
That's great. Where do you keep it now?
It's in my garage in my house.
Yeah.
It took almost 9 months. It's a lot of work.
I bet.
My whole summer, part of my senior year, pretty much all my senior year.
Yeah.
So it was
Cool. Dustin, well, how about you?
Serving military. I'm going to serve.
Military service.
I'll break down to nurse Mobile Hawks.
Restore antique.
The pilot is in Oklahoma.
What did you guys have?
I was able to build my own kind of computer.
All right. Build a computer. What was yours?
I'm on second
Military service.
Yeah, sir.
And what branch were you in?
Air Force.
Air Force.
Still is.
All right. So there are some common characteristics of. Let's see. There are some common characteristics of all these things, and the motivation of why you did it. Sometimes maybe it's just it's something that you're interested in or something you enjoy, but it's a little bit counterintuitive that you'd go through a lot of work if it wasn't something that was meaningful to you. And the reason why you're proud of it and it's an achievement that you look back on fondly, is because probably it took a lot of effort to do it, and you made sacrifices in order to make it happen. What sorts of things do you have to sacrifice when you're working on a goal? Like in engineering economy, which is another class that I teach, I introduced the phrase opportunity cost. And what opportunity cost means is that if you spend your money on one thing, then you don't have that money available to spend it on something else. Or if you spend your time doing one thing, it's not available to do another thing. So, for example, if you come to class, then you don't have that same time available to go sledding. And so, what were the opportunity costs associated with the things that you achieved?
Time, for sure.
Time?
Freedom.
Freedom? Okay, money? Time? A lot of labor, sweat. The opportunity, like what the other things that you could have been doing instead of working on your goal, you could have been playing Xbox, and sitting in your room listening to music. I mean, the things that are easy to do, but ultimately you're not going to get a ribbon for doing it, or it's not something you're going to put on a resume. No one would be impressed with how many hours another person plays PlayStation. It's just really the time that's wasted that you instead decided to do something more difficult, and then you can feel proud about. And so we've talked about sacrifices and something that's a really difficult challenge. How do you achieve that? What's the how did you accomplish it? Speaking broadly, not in terms of perfected my swing or went to the recruiter's office, but like if you step back and think strategically and the fundamentals of what you did internally, how you changed your mindset or how you motivated yourself. What do you think? How do you accomplish an important, meaningful goal?
Devotion.
What does that mean, devotion?
Hard work. You're so focused on it to accomplish your goal.
All right.
And that goes hand in hand with sacrifices, I think.
So meaningful things don't come easy. A lot of you have addressed hard work and it being some effort in order to achieve a sacrifice in order to achieve your goal. Well, what we're talking about today relates to Chapter 4 in the textbook. It's called The Keys to Success. And this is one of the few lectures during the semester, one of the few topics during the semester that I actually present some slides on. Ordinarily, we'll learn with our hands and we'll do activities that sort of illustrate the concepts, but this is important enough, I think, that we can talk about it, and there's an assignment that's due next week. So the book says that in order to achieve success, you have to be committed, and part of being committed is making the decision to be successful. It's sort of at the very beginning, before the difficult times start to pop up, you decide that it's going to happen and you don't give yourself a plan B. For example, if you're going out on a run and you're saying, well, 10 miles, I want to do 10 miles, but if I don't feel like it, I'll turn around at 5. Well, of course you're going to turn around at 5. If you give yourself an easy out, you're always going to take the easy out. And so the point behind deciding to be successful is that you just at the very beginning say, I'm going to achieve it regardless of what the cost is. And so at the beginning of your engineering career, maybe it's, I know I'm going to hate chemistry, I know I'm going to hate calculus, it's going to take a lot of studying, I'm not going to be able to party like my friends who are in communications or in business, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Even though it's harder than I want it to be, I'm going to decide to be successful and I'm going to stick to it. One of the important things that's addressed in this chapter is goals. And what is a goal? I was thinking about goals a lot around the first of the year because everybody sets their New Year's resolutions, right? So how would you explain to somebody what is a goal? Like maybe if they're a foreign language speaker and they don't know what goal means.
A future achievement.
Okay, a future achievement. How else would you put it? Any other thoughts along those lines? What's a goal?
Kind of like I guess a finish line of a race.
Okay.
That you're reaching for
All right.
over a period of time.
Good. All right. I agree with both of those. You know, the funny thing about New Year's resolutions is so often it seems like people pick as their New Year's resolution something they don't want to do. Not something that they do want to do, but it's like, my goal is to lose 10 pounds. And really they don't want to do it. It's something they think they should do, not something that they do want to do. And so, like, I just had this, it's sort of an epiphany that I should only pick goals that actually I have some enthusiasm for. And so there are certain things that I feel like I ought to do, but there's no sense in setting it as a goal if it's something that you don't want to achieve. Why force yourself to? And so, you know, taking that to engineering, like, if you don't want to be an engineer, then go find something that you do want to do. I mean, there's no reason to pick a career that you don't have enthusiasm for and that you can't be excited to do what it takes, because there probably is something else out there that you will find enthusiasm for. And so an appropriate goal is, number one, something that you actually want to do. But goals also have characteristics, and I think I have some additional details on a slide here in a minute, but goals should be measurable. And by the way, questions from today's lecture do show up on the midterm exam. And so, you know, this is taken largely from the book, or if you want to take notes, that's not a bad idea either. I'll be reading this, but if you want to write your notes on the back, I'll be giving it back to you next week. So goals that I consider and that the book considers appropriate are those that are measurable. So an inappropriate goal might be, I want to do better in chemistry. Well, how do you know if you've achieved it or not? That's vague. And so a goal that's inappropriate would be a goal that's vague. You don't know if you've accomplished it or not. Or if you say, I want to be more healthy. Well, that's a vague goal too. And so you should pick a goal that's specific and quantifiable, something that you know whether or not you've done it. So I want to quit smoking, or I want to improve my resting heart rate from 75 to 60, or something along those lines. Goals should be quantifiable. They should be specific. They shouldn't be vague, and they should be things that you actually want to do. Part of commitment is finding a way to keep yourself focused, because there are so many distractions. And what are some of the things that distract you from your goals?
Friends.
All right, friends. This should be the easiest list of the day, because in our modern society, we have more distractions than anything else. That's the number one thing in the world, is distractions. What else distracts you from accomplishing the things that you want to do? Being too busy. All right, maybe being overscheduled. Hobbies. Can you think of any electronic gadgets or gizmos or doodads that distract you?
Entertainment in general, like
Movies, TV. Somebody over here said what? Cell phone. I think that that's probably the number one killer of productivity. Cell phones and the apps that are on it. You know, Facebook, Twitter. I mean, when was the last time you really read something meaningful on Facebook? Something that you learned from or you grew from? It's just all, since I'm recording, I won't say what I really think, but it's garbage. You know, it's, yeah, cell phones are a distraction. They really, they kill your focus. And so some of the things that I've had students tell me they do to maintain their focus when they really need to study is, you know, go to the library, one of those quiet rooms that they have where you're staring against a wall, there's walls behind you, and on either side the door's closed so there's no noise. Unplugging the computer's internet connection. You know, if you need to type a paper, the worst thing is to be logged into a chat and have your emails coming in. Just disconnect from the internet and your productivity will soar. When you face difficult challenges, one of the things is that it's easy to get discouraged. And so you have to find ways to stay determined to succeed. And one way you can do that is to write positive reinforcements to yourself and remind yourself why you're trying to achieve a difficult goal. So in the case of education, you may remind yourself that maybe you're achieving the goal because you want to provide for your family, or that you want a better life than your parents had or that your grandparents had, or that you're determined to succeed because you love the technical side of what work you might be able to do. So you have to find some sort of a way to affirm the importance of your goals, because in the heat of the moment, when you're on the verge of just throwing your arms in the air and giving up on a class, you have to have something to counterbalance that desperation, some sort of a reminder that it is worth it. When I was going through my PhD, there were several occasions where I just felt like it was a waste of time. I didn't want to keep doing it. It was too hard. And I had a few things in my mind, though, that helped me stay determined to succeed. I just didn't want to fail at it. The main reason why I didn't quit my PhD program is it just would have been too embarrassing. You know, like I'd made it so far that I didn't want to stop partway through. And so they say that actually if you're, for example, if you're training for a marathon or if you're trying to get ready for some sort of an event, if you tell lots of people about it, then that'll be a way to force yourself to actually follow through with it, because then you don't want everybody to say, "Oh, how was your marathon?" You say, "Oh, I didn't do it," or, you know, "Oh, how's your engineering degree coming along?" "Oh, I switched to communications." You know, you don't want to disappoint people, and so that's maybe a good way to be determined to succeed. And so, you know, staying determined to succeed goes right along with reminding yourself of the reasons why you chose engineering. Maybe make yourself a poster or have positive affirmations that will keep that fresh in your mind, and then every day you'll have the energy required to satisfy the task. Let me dim the light so that you can see this figure. 100% of the time, this figure shows up on a quiz or an exam. 100% of the time. And 100% of the time there are students who can't explain this figure, which is baffling because it's the most simple figure in the world. It shows two trends simultaneously. It shows the effect of education on unemployment and on earning potential. So, focusing first on unemployment. What does increasing level of education, what effect does increasing level of education have on someone's probability of being unemployed? Less unemployment for those who are more highly educated. So if you look, someone with less than a high school diploma, 14.6% of those people will be unemployed. If you just have a high school graduate only, 9.7% of those people will be unemployed. So the more education you have, the less likely you are to be unemployed. And that's the main thing people seem to be anxious and fearful about in the economy today is, you know, there might be cutbacks in their jobs, or, you know, the insecurity of being able to provide for yourself and for your family. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that there's more unemployment for people who have less education? Okay, it's less skills. Okay. So it's partly that they are less flexible as employees. It's not that they don't know how to do anything, and I know you didn't mean that. You didn't mean it to sound as mean, right?
That was good.
We're not very determined because they didn't go through high school.
Okay, so that's another thing too. Is it's not just about skills, but maybe it also speaks to how productive they are and how committed they are to finishing things. Those soft social characteristics. So maybe they are less likely to follow through on commitment. All right? Those are both important trends. Now, another thing about it is, as an engineer, for example, if you get a bachelor's degree as an engineer, you'll have lots of employment opportunities. Now, this is for all workers from many different disciplines. The unemployment rate for engineers is going to be lower than average. There's a shortage of engineers in the country. And so, you know, if you have a bachelor's degree, I think probably less than 5.2% of bachelor's degree engineers are unemployed. But if you get a master's degree, you know more things and you're able to solve more problems. And so that's why there's even less unemployment for those with a master's degree, is because you're more flexible. If you have more knowledge, you can work on different kinds of problems. You can work in different places. So I think that we all understand that first trend, unemployment versus education. And so if I, in a quiz, say, describe the relationship between education and unemployment, you'd say that increasing levels of education decreases the average rate of unemployment. And maybe I'd ask why. And you'd say because people who have less than a high school diploma can't do anything. It'd be a little harsh, but I'd know what you meant. Or you'd maybe say that that it takes a lot of commitment. People who earn college degrees do that, and it's a proof of their ability to follow through. Okay, now, money. The less education you have, the less money you make. And so you can try and get by on $454 per week if you have less than a high school diploma. Or if you finish your 4-year degree, you're earning more than double that. In fact, about 250% of less than a high school diploma. By the way, a professional degree, what that means is like a professional degree would be medicine or law. Those are the professions. Any questions about either of these figures? So the takeaway message here is that education pays. We've been talking about the importance of committing in order to be successful. One of the keys to success is commitment. And what is commitment? Commitment is all of those things. And what does commitment lead to? It leads to employment, and it leads to income. That's not all about money, but I bet that if we had another graph, satisfaction, job satisfaction, life satisfaction, money doesn't buy happiness, right? Everybody knows money doesn't buy happiness, but it helps. Yeah, it helps alleviate inconveniences. So if you want a job where you're on your feet and moving hamburgers from the grill to the counter, or do you want a job where people respect your opinion, where you're able to see something that you've designed be built, you can be proud of it? There are some soft advantages too in terms of the probably less stress and more feeling of satisfaction. So another important key to success that the book goes into is how you can apply yourself to attain your goals. And so application includes working hard. Everybody's mentioned that already with the goals that you've achieved, is that it wasn't something easy that led to success. It was something that was hard that led to success. But it's not just about banging your head against the wall and brute force. Sometimes you have to be selective in where you spend your time. I learned when I was a freshman in college that I couldn't read every word of every text and work every problem that went along with it, work through all the examples. I couldn't do everything. I had to find the things that actually yielded a benefit. So I realized what yielded a lot of benefit for me was working the example problems in the book. That's what helped me to get through chemistry and math. And so for me, that was part of working smart, was knowing what to ignore and what was important, prioritizing my time. So for example, this semester, probably this class is your least important class. So if it comes down to studying for a calculus exam or designing your index card tower, I'm not going to be offended if you choose the calculus exam over the index card tower, because calculus is a 5-credit-hour class. You have to know calculus to get into Calc 1 to get into Calc 2, whereas your card tower skills aren't really going to, we're not going to build on that in a direct way from here on out. So sometimes you don't have as much time as you like, and you have to prioritize things and find other ways to work smart, not just working hard. So you have to maximize your effectiveness, in other words. Now this next thing is something that used to drive me nuts when I was in school. I hated the fact that it seemed like education was just a game. It was more of a contest than really about 100% about learning. I mean, obviously it's about learning, but you had to earn a certain number of points here and a certain number of points there, and there was this arbitrary threshold of 80% or 90%, and it just seemed irrational in so many ways to me. But that's just the way that in the end of the semester you get graded, is according to that formula and according to the game that you have to play. And so the book says it kind of, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit, what's that called? Oh, I can't think of the word. It's not very educationally oriented to just say that it's a game. Maybe you're being a little too skeptical to say that it's a game, but if you can find the ways to maximize your effectiveness by focusing on the points that are most important to your final grade. So it's really important to be ready for the test, for example. And so that's why people sometimes cram the night before, and you don't learn as much as if you study methodically, but you have to both learn the material and also learn how to play the game. Here's a picture of a chemical refinery, and we've had several students after graduating from Marshall go to work at Marathon, which is over in Ashland, Kentucky, and they make really good money over there. These are students who graduated just a couple of years ago, and with their annual bonuses that Marathon pays, those students are making more than the faculty now, and they're working longer hours too, but yeah, they're getting paid more than me. And this is a student I had in my hydraulic engineering class just a couple of years ago, and so I'm really glad that the skills that they learned are able to make them so employable and so valuable to their employer that they are paying upwards of $80,000 a year. We had a student who's still in the program take a co-op where he worked during the fall semester and during the summer, and then came back to Marshall in the winter for the spring semester, and during that co-op was making more than $20 an hour at Marathon Petroleum. So $70,000 a year starting salary at Marathon Petroleum, more when you consider the bonuses, and after just a couple of years and getting licensed, they increase your salary even more. That's, for a lot of students, why they chose engineering, is they're technically oriented, and at the same time they want to be employable, and they want to be able to support their family and save for the future. We've had other students who've gone into the railroad industry, both CSX and Norfolk Southern, and a fresh graduate from our program who had never worked with CSX before. It's not like he'd had an internship or prior experience with them. He just started straight out of school and was offered $67,500 a year. And that's good money. I mean, with a 4-year degree, you usually don't make that much. That's certainly more than the figure that's listed here. Bachelor's degree, it's $1,025. That means that the average salary would be about $52,000, since that's a weekly salary. So the $67,500, that's better than the average, and it's also in a part of the country where our living expenses are really low here. That average salary was including people who are working in San Francisco and Los Angeles and New York, where rents are 3 and 4 times as expensive as they are here. On the other hand, you can manage McDonald's, make $40,000 a year, and have tons of headaches and stress, and so the extra work now will pay dividends for the rest of your life. Some of the ways that you can do well academically, the core strategies as they're called in the text, is to assume what your instructor to know what your instructor assumes you know. There are prerequisites with every class. When you take Calculus 1, for example, you have to have already taken college algebra, Math 132, or know the material that's in that course. And if you don't know it, it's your responsibility to get up to speed beforehand, because the instructor is going to be building on previous knowledge. Making the most of lectures and class time means not texting during class, because if you're texting, you're probably not listening. Better than just listening is to listen and take notes, because when you write things down, you retain the material a lot more if you're somehow actively engaged during the lecture. Participating in discussion is another good way to make the most out of classroom time. Another one of the core strategies that the that the book goes into is saying that your book is supposed to supplement your learning, not replace paying attention in class. And that was something I noticed when I was a student, is a lot of people would fall asleep during lectures and say, well, I'll just read the book after class. But obviously, if the instructor identifies specific things from the textbook that that instructor thinks is especially important, if you just only read the book and don't pay attention or attend the lecture, then you're not going to get those cues on what priorities you should set as you study. So the textbook is just a supplement, and you could say the same thing about the lectures. You know, most instructors expect that you're going to be reading the material that's assigned and not only just listening to what they say. Writing effective solutions to problems means do more than just write the answer to the problem. Find a good way to summarize the problem statement, to clearly and logically show how you solved it step by step, because the homework that you do is going to serve as a reminder on how to solve problems as you study for a test, and actually even after you graduate. And the honest truth is that the first job that I had as an engineer was working at a design firm where I was designing mostly drainage for roadways. Like anytime a road is paved, then that means the surface is impervious, and when it rains there's going to be a lot of water that has to be taken away from the road. If not, the puddles will accumulate, and that can be really dangerous. So I had to refer back to my class notes on my first job because I needed to find out how big pipes should be or what the depth of flow would be through pipes. And so I was really happy to have effective solutions to previous homework problems because I had to remind myself how to do those sorts of calculations. Now 5 is related to 4, that if you organize your thought and have a procedure, then your solutions will be very effective. And when an assignment is given to you, like a homework assignment that's calculations or the kind of assignment that I'm going to be giving you today, that indicates a minimum standard. Like you should be able to do this, and the quizzes and the exams might be an additional step beyond. It's not that the homework assignment is like a maximum level of proficiency. It tells you what you should know and what is going to be built on for additional levels of demonstrating your proficiency. Now, when I give exams that ask what are the core strategies, like list one of the core strategies, these are the ones that get cited most often because they're easy to remember. Practice, 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 ask, ask, ask. It means, go see the instructor if you've got questions. Ask questions if you're not certain on how to solve problems. That's what office hours are for. That's why instructors are in their office at certain times and expecting students to come by. And sometimes you need to go beyond just the homework assignment to really understand something. You have to solve additional problems. And all instructors would be happy to give you an idea of extra problems you could solve to get even more acquainted with how to solve certain concepts. And lastly, come up with a way to take tests that works for you, an examination technique. Now, when I was a student, actually, I went to a university where we had what was called a testing center. It's very different from how it is here at Marshall. Here at Marshall, most of the time, your exam is given in the classroom. But when I was a student, we had a building, a whole building, where the entire purpose of that building was you just go there to take your tests. And so an instructor would usually say, we're having a test on Wednesday or Thursday. You can go anytime from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. to go take that test. And on most of the cases, it was an unlimited time frame we had. And so my examination technique was, I'd go in there and I'd take like 4 or 5 hours to go through an exam. I'd really give myself the benefit as much time as I wanted. I'd take candy in with me so my blood sugar would be nice and high. I'd feel creative and happy as I was taking the test. I didn't mind exams at all because sometimes I'd go in there and I'd figure out things that I didn't ever quite understand until the exam because I'd given myself plenty of time. That's going to be completely different from how you do things because most of your exams will be in the classroom, right? So your technique may be that you study consistently through the semester, and then a few days beforehand you start to cram even more, And then you get a good night's rest before the exam, and you have an equation sheet that you have used to solve lots of practice problems. You know, everyone tests a little bit differently, but it's important because in most cases tests are a big part of the final grade. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're over time. All right. One last thing I want to point out is that Marshall has tutoring services available. It's in Laidley Hall. They've got tutoring available for chemistry, physics, biology, math. And so if you get to the point during the semester where you'd like to, you can stop in and they have just drop-in tutoring, or you can make a scheduled appointment where it will just be one-on-one. So let me give you a copy of the assignment that you're going to be working on. This is due next week, and be sure to let me get that in-class exercise from you. I'm going to be giving you points for the notes that you, for the your responses in the in-class exercise. Remember that next week the assignment's due, and finish the reading quiz before 11 a.m. next week. I'm going to be posting this lecture online in case you want to review it, and also for the students who couldn't make it today for weather.